Okay, welcome everybody to my live stream for tonight. It is October 10th here in Tokyo, Japan. It is 7 p.m. I'm just looking at the channel. I can see some returning people. So thanks for coming back. I appreciate you coming back and checking things out. And this is, I think, the fourth or fifth time I've done this. And what I usually like to do is to first just basically ask if anybody has any questions, if there's anything I can help people with. Just to let me know, and I'll try to do my best. If you have any questions about Python coding, I don't know everything. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do teach it, and I'm really good, I think, at helping out beginners and kind of explaining things so that beginners can hopefully get an idea of things. So hopefully the sound is on. I don't know how to check that, but I think it's on. It looks like it's on. So if you can hear, that's great. And if you have any questions, let's get started. Okay. And people are always a little shy, I think, to start out, but eventually, usually somebody will pipe up. And we got 8 people watching. That's I don't know if it's a record or anything, but it's a good start. As I mentioned, it is 7 p.m. here in Tokyo. I've got a bit of a sore throat, so you can hear it probably a little bit. But I will do my best, and hopefully I have a good mic, and we'll pick that up. Is it 6 a.m.? 6 a.m. maybe where you are, pepperoni salad, but where I'm at, it is 7 p.m. I can't help you with that one. I don't know where you live. And I don't need to know where you live. That's private information. Unless people want to sound off and tell us where they're from. As I mentioned, I am streaming, I guess we should say, from Tokyo, Japan. And we are bracing for a very large typhoon this weekend. So they're canceling events, and trains are talking about being canceled. So it looks like it's going to be a big one. So it looks like, so far, no questions. Since that's the case, I did kind of prepare at least a little bit. I had a chat with one of my students today, and she finished some of the basics, and she is interested in trying out a text adventure. So I thought I would maybe do a little bit of that tonight, and just kind of play around with the idea. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and I'll just maybe do a little bit of coding and talk about that. But if you do have any questions, shoot them towards me, and then if we can later, I will get to those. So basically, if you're not familiar with what a text adventure is where, or interactive fiction it's called sometimes, is where you are a character in a story, and you are actually playing the game. And usually you have commands, and you can say, hey, this is I want to go north, I want to go south, etc., etc. So before the stream started, I kind of came up with just kind of a basic map for I came up with kind of a basic map for a text adventure. So I thought that I would have some rooms, and each room would have a description, and there are some items in the room, and some items you can pick up, and some items you cannot pick up. Okay, so movable items would be a uniform, a non-movable item would be a shelf. And then usually there are exits, and so like this would be north, this would be east, then you can go back west, you can go back south here, and it's not on here, but I could add another room and different things. So what I thought we'd do is just kind of maybe start out. I'll show one basic approach that beginners often use, and then maybe I'll start using a little bit of classes and things to make it a little bit more interesting and maybe more realistic coding-wise, or even easier in a lot of ways. So let's maybe get going on that. So basically thinking about this. Hey Shashi, welcome from Doha. Hey, nice. That's pretty international. So here's kind of how beginners usually do this type of game. And it's nothing wrong with doing it this way. This is a perfectly good way to do it. So what they'll do is they'll do something like, they'll say, print, my space, we'll call it my space adventure, whatever, adventure. And then so kind of you're in a room, so let's say print. So I'm going to do starting out in the closet. Okay, so print the closet. Very exciting. And then I say print description. So you are in a small nondescript closet. And I say print. You can see. Well, actually, since it's not movable, I might put this here. So a small nondescript closet with a shelf, and you can see a uniform. Okay, so and then what they'll do is something like this. So like print. What would you like to do? And then they get some input. So let's say choice equals. Now I'm for long story, but I'm currently on Python 2, so I'm going to use raw input. But you should use input. Hey Zepe Buna, Jfach, and so I could say if you were on regular Python 3, you should use input. But like I said, I'm using raw input for now, and I really need to fix that. I can just do this like that. Choice equals raw input, and it'll just kind of sit there and ask me and wait. And then what I can do is like, so if choice equals, let's say, get uniform, for example. And something like, okay, so print, you take the uniform, say elif choice equals, go north, because north is the exit. Yeah, I should have put that up here, but you say print, you go north, and now I'm in a different room. Okay, so now I would be, according to this map, 42, can't go wrong with that, cranky Thomas. So now I'd be in the control room. So this is usually how beginners start out with their text adventures, and yet nothing wrong with it. It's just hard to code a large game. So my space adventure, the closet, you're in a small nondescript closet with a shelf. You can see a uniform, so I say get uniform, something like that. Very excited. Yeah, Shashi, you can put anything into raw input, but it always comes out as a string. So it's always going to be a string. Now you can change that. If you want it to be an int, you could wrap it like that. If you want it to be a float, you could do the same thing. You can convert it, but it's always going to be a string. Okay. So nothing wrong with this. And then as you get a little bit more advanced, you might try something like this. So you say room equals, let's say closet, and then you make a nice little while true loop. Okay, so you say if room equals closet, and then we put the closet stuff in there. Okay, and then you go north, and then here you might say, okay, I've gone north from there, and you say room equals, what's that called? Control room. Control room. Okay, something like that. And you'll see, say, if room equals control room. And you can see kind of where I'm going here. So I can do kind of the same things. Let's see. And I might change this to the control room. How do I put it? You're in a small room that looks like a control room. You are in a small room that looks like control something. Control something. There is a guard here. Okay, you can see an ID. You can see an ID. And then something like, what would you like to do? If the choice is, let's say, kill guard, something like that. We could have fun with that. Kill guard. You attack the guard, and he kills you. And game over. Or you can say go south. You go south, and now you're back in this is the type of things that beginners generally do it like this. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a way to start. So you can see a uniform, so I say get uniform, you take the uniform. You're in a small descript closet with a shelf, and then I can say go north. You're in the control room. You're in a small room that looks like it controls something. There's a guard here, so I say kill guard. Okay, you attack the guard and he kills you. So again, this is an approach. It's a simple approach. You can do some fun stuff with this. But again, it's probably not the best organizational system. You're going to want to do something a little bit more advanced, I would imagine. So let's try and see what we can come up with. Can decision-based messages be loaded in some external file and called from within the code? Shashi, absolutely. There's a few different ways I can think of off the top of my head you can do it, but yeah, it's not impossible. Not impossible at all. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board, and I'm going to talk a little bit about classes and objects. So in our game, so far what we have is we have rooms. So this is the first thing I see. So I'm going to make a class. I'm going to call it room. And because I'm in Python 2, I know I got to update it Python 3. I'll do it later. I got to put object there. And I put underscore init. So when I make an object, I need to initialize it. And it's self. And so we look at our room. It has a name. It has a description. It has items. And I'm going to leave that like that. It's for items. And it has exits also. Let's do exits first. Exits. And it has items. Again, now there are different ways to do all these things, but this is a way to do it. So I'm going to say self.name equals name. Self.description equals description. Self.exits equals exits. And self.items equals items. There's a couple different things I could do here, but let's just leave it like that. Okay, so basically what we've done here is we've created a room object, and we said that when we create it, we need to add this information, the name, description, exits, and items, etc. And then we say for that object, that particular object, it has a particular name, it has a particular description, it has some exits, and it has some items. So I'm going to show you we're going to see some problems here. And I don't know the best way to get around it, but I do know ways to get around it. So what I can do here is I can say our first room is the closet, and I'm just going to call it closet. Okay, and it is a room, and its name is the closet. I could call it a closet, doesn't matter. And the description is you are in a small room that looks like it controls something. There is a... Actually, I'll just leave it like that. And we'll put it separate for now. Oops, I missed that. And then the items that are there, the exits, we've got... so what I have to do is I'm going to make a little dictionary. And S is for south. And the south takes you to... Actually, north, sorry. Okay, sorry, I got two rooms confused. I apologize. This is what happens when you program when you're sick. So you are in a small, nondescript closet. Okay. And it's got one exit, and it is to the north. And it takes us to the control room. Okay. And that is a dictionary, if you see the braces there. And then items. So the items will be a list. And the items here are a shelf and a uniform. Okay. So if I save that and I just run it and test to see what happens, you're going to see some errors. Okay, it says control room is not defined. Okay. So this is one of the problems with doing it this way, because I haven't defined the control room, I can't control define the exits at all yet either. So what I'll do is I'm just going to make a little dictionary here. I'm going to make that empty. Okay. And again, I haven't done the shelf or the uniform, so I haven't made those yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it just a little bit differently. There's probably a better way to do this, but what I'll do is instead of creating these things at the beginning, which I could do, I'm just going to go ahead and do it like this. Keep it simple. And the exits. Okay. Now I can do this a couple different ways, but I'll do a dictionary for this one, and I'll do a list for this one. Okay. So then if I run it, make sure it works. Okay, there's no output, which is fine. So then what I can do later is I can say print closet dot name, print closet dot description, and print closet dot exits, but there's no exits yet, and print closet dot items. And let's just run that and test it. Okay, so we're getting started there. Now in this game we're also going to have a player. Okay, so I'll get back to exits and things later. So I'm going to make a player class. Okay, and the player is also an object. And because I'm kind of lazy, I'm just going to copy this and just take out what I need. So the player is going to have a name. The player is going to have a location. That's going to tell us where the player is when he starts. And the player is also going to have an inventory, but when we start the game, it might be empty. So name, location, and I'm going to say the player, location, and the player will have an inventory. These are the things the player is carrying. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make, say, player equals player, and the player's name is, what can we call our player? Actually, I guess the player doesn't really need a name for the player. That's fine. And we're going to start the player in the closet. Okay. So now what we can do, what this lets us do, is we can start our while loop. So I might say, okay, start the game. Okay, so I say print, welcome to my space adventure. And you can have some information here about the game. I haven't really come up with anything. Maybe, you are on I don't know, you wake up on a space station. Leave it like that. Okay. And then this is where we'll put our while true loop. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say room, we do it like this, equals player.location. Actually, we don't need to do that. So print player.location. So player.location is currently closet dot name. Print player.location dot description. And then for, let's see here, exit in exits, print exits. So I might say something like, print there are exits, or something like, here are the exits. In this case, there aren't any, but we'll get to that. And say print, you see the following. And for item in, screw that up, player.location.exits, player.location.items, print item. And then we might say get command. Okay, so command equals Now again, I have Python 2.7, so I got to use raw input, but you want to use input if you're on Python 3, which you should be. Raw input, and what would you like to do? Well, I'll just put this here. You should know that's the command. And let's run that, see what happens. Browser has no location. Player has history location. F5. Okay, welcome to my space adventure. You wake up on a space station. The closet. You're in a small nondescript closet. Here are the exits. Nothing. You see the following. Nothing. Okay, so I can't really do anything. Just hit enter. Okay. Oops. So we're getting there. We're starting to have some things. So let's make an item here. So class item object, and we've got a shelf and we've got a uniform. So again, I'm going to say def init. That's 2 underscores, by the way. Self name description. And what I'm going to put here is movable. It actually is movable. That'll make a difference later on. So say self.name equals name. I hate when it does that. Self.name description equals description. Self.is movable equals movable. Is movable. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my first item, and that is the uniform. Well, shelf too, but let's do shelf and uniform. Shelf equals item, and it is shelf. And its description, the shelf is empty. It doesn't matter. And then, is it movable? False, because it is not movable. That's a boolean. And I'll say uniform equals item. Uniform. Let me say the uniform is blue and drab. And this one's going to be true because I can move it, which means I can pick it up and do things with it. Let me actually move this over a little bit so we can see things. So then what I want to do with a closet is I'll say closet.items.append shelf, closet.items.append uniform. Okay, so now if I run it, closest, okay, spelled that wrong, closet, yeah, right, yeah, I'll do it that way, and actually I'm going to say, put a space here, print, space there, and, okay, leave that. So now we have, oops, okay, pretty close. So it is item.name, not just the item. Okay, so my bad. Okay, so you're in a small nondescript closet. Here are the exits. Nothing. You see the following: shelf and uniform. Okay, so usually in these types of games, you control things with 2-word commands. Okay, so one of the commands that you'll use a lot is examine. Okay, so for example, you would say examine shelf, okay, or examine uniform. And you can also use exa. So what we got to do here is we have to take our command and split it. So I'm going to say verb noun equals command dot split. Now I know this can cause errors, but this is just for practice. So what that does, I hope, no, actually it's not going to work. versus command split, and then noun equals words 0, and verb equals words 1. Okay. And we'll have to check for errors at another time, but that does that. So what we can do now, we can say if noun equals examine, okay. If, oh yeah, messed that one up. So we're gonna have something like examine uniform. Okay, so what we gotta do is know if that item is in the room. Yeah, I kind of painted myself into a corner on this one. But okay, here's a way to do it. It's not the best. So for item in player.location.items, if item.name equals noun, and this should be verb, not noun, is noun, print item dot description. Okay, so if that name is equal to the noun after examine, you print the description. Okay. And then we'll ignore the fact if it's not there. Okay, so I'm gonna hit F5. Hopefully that'll work. Invalid syntax, 2 equal signs. Happens all the time. Okay, so I'm going to say examine shelf. Okay, that didn't work. Alrighty, why not shelf? Okay, so, well, this is a good thing. We have to do a little bit of debugging. Yeah, Info Club, you can definitely do it that way. Yeah, it's just an extension of what you're doing. That part's probably actually easier than the part that I'm doing now. Yeah, this game logic stuff gets pretty complicated. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, but yeah. For item and player location items. Okay. Let me try it one more time. Maybe I just spelled something wrong. Examine uniform. That did not work. Okay, so now I gotta do a little bit of debugging. So I'm gonna say print command and make sure that's working. So examine shelf. Okay, so the command's getting in there. So I can get rid of that. And I can say print words to make sure that's working. Examine shelf. Okay, so this is the noun, this is the verb. Okay, so I know this is working. Okay, now I'm going to say print verb examine. So I want to see if it's getting to this particular thing. And maybe some of you have already figured out what's wrong. That's great if you have. Okay, so that's where our problem is. So this is not working for some reason. So if verb equals, oh, because I have these backwards, verb and noun. I guess it's been a long day. Okay, so F5, let's try it again. Examine shelf. The shelf is empty. Okay, examine uniform. The uniform is blue and drab. Okay, so that's kind of working. So we can examine things now. Okay. So next thing we want to do is we want to get things. Or take, but we'll use just get for now. Okay, so if verb equals get, and then same thing. If item in player location items, if item equals noun. So this is what we're going to happen. So we're going to say print you take the, I'm going to use format here, dot format item dot name. And now what we have to do is we have to remove the item from the room. Okay, it's on this list of items. And we have to give it to the player's inventory. Okay. So remove from the room. And we'll say player.location.items.remove, and that removes it from the list. Remove item. And then we got to do player, we got to add it to the, give it to the player. Add to the player's inventory. Say player.location.inventory.append item. Okay. Again, I know we're ignoring the fact that when things aren't there, but let's try this. Okay, so I'm going to say get uniform object. Oh, so it's not player location, it's player.inventory. My bad. I'll try that again. So get uniform. You take the uniform. Okay, so now you can see it is no longer listed in the closet. Okay, now watch this. Get shelf. You take the shelf. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. Some things are movable, some things are not. So we need to check for that. Okay, so let me fix that one up here real quick. Okay, so if the item name is in the noun, then we got to check. Check, is it movable? So if item dot is movable, okay, then I can do this. This is okay. What I do is else, okay, print, sorry, you can't move that. And let me just kind of fix up the output a little bit, some spaces here. Okay, all right, so let's run that again. And I know I spelled movable. Okay, so F5. So you see the following. Okay, actually I'm gonna, sorry, those little things kind of really bother me. I'm gonna put a little /n here as well. Again, just as a reminder, if you're using Python 3, this should be input, not raw input. Sorry about that. Okay, so you see it. So I'm gonna say get uniform. Okay, and I'll say get shelf. And you say, sorry, you can't move that. Okay, so that's kind of what we wanted to happen. Now the other thing is we don't know actually what we're carrying. So I'm going to make a new command. So if verb equals inv, actually let's do it this way. If verb in, I'm going to make a little list here. inv inventory. Okay, so either of those will work. Okay, so we say for item in player.inventory print item.name. Okay. Now, if you followed along pretty closely, you might notice that, well, actually, we're going to end up with an error. Let's run that, and then we'll fix the error. So if I type inv, okay, so we get a list index out of range. And this is because there is no noun in this particular case. We only have the verb. Okay, so we need to deal with that somehow. So actually I'm going to put this here, so inventory. So what we can do is we say if, let's say length of words, well, basically length of words is greater than 0. say, so the verb's going to be word 0. And then if length of words is greater than 1, and this may not be the best way to do it. We say noun equals words 1. So we're going to ignore a case where you enter 3 words. We're just going to say you can only enter 2. And we can get around this, but for this tutorial, we'll just keep it like that. Okay, so let me try that again. I'm going to say INV. Okay, so doesn't seem like that worked. Okay, so it didn't print anything. So print, you have the following. Let's try that again. So INV. Okay, that didn't work, and why not? Okay, again, this is where we just got to debug it again. Totally put that in the wrong spot. Control X. Yeah, like I said, I've been kind of sick today, and yeah, I'm just making a lot of mistakes, a lot of stupid, silly mistakes. F5, INV, you have the following. Okay, so that's kind of working now. But since there was nothing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say get uniform. Okay, you take the uniform. I'm going to do INV. And now you have the following. Okay, so it's getting kind of cool. We can actually start doing some things. We can, we got to do also drop. So if we have get, and we can also drop things. So I'm going to do drop here. So if verb equals drop, and then I'm going to do all the same things. Okay, actually I'm going to have to do this one. Player inventory. So say print. You drop the format. And when we drop it, what we have to do is we have to remove it from the inventory. So we say player dot. So it's basically the opposite of what we did here. So player dot inventory dot remove item. And then we have to add it to the rooms list. For me, it is 7:40 p.m. Here in Tokyo. So I say player.location.items.append. That's how we add stuff to a list. We're going to append the item. Okay, so let's try that. Let's make sure that's working. Okay, so I'm going to get the uniform. I take the uniform, inventory, you have the following uniform. I want to drop the uniform. So you drop the uniform, and now we can see it here. I'm going to check the inventory to make sure it's not there anymore. And you have the following. Okay, so we're making good progress here. I think this is working out pretty well. So now we've basically programmed the ability to print our location. We've added the ability to we have items that are movable. We have items that are not movable. And now what we want to do is we want to start talking about exits. Okay, so for the exits here, for the room, okay, so you can see how I've chosen to use a dictionary. I could have used a list. I'm just going to use a dictionary here because that makes it kind of easier. And in text adventures, how exits usually work is you'll see north, south, east, west, and there's also usually like up and down, or usually it's represented diagonally. Okay, so in this case, if I'm in the closet, I can go north to the control room. Okay, so first let me create the control room and all the items in the control room. So I'm going to say this is closet items, and I'm going to say control room items. Should I put it there? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we'll do it all together. Okay. Zeppe, Zeppe, classes are the one thing that I don't have a tutorial for because there's a really good one on YouTube. I'll share the link here right now. It's much better than I could do. So I show this to my students because I don't think I could do a better job than they've done. So when you get a chance, watch this.
Do you want to master?
And you'll definitely learn quite a lot about what are those things called? Objects and classes. But Zeppy, if you think about this, just real quick. So I've made a class called room, and just ignore the code part of it. What I said is a room has a name, a room has a description, it has exits, and I'm going to use a dictionary, and it has items, and I'm going to use a list for that. A player has a name, it has a location, which is a room, and then it has an inventory, which is a list of items. And we could do health points and stuff like that, and then we have items, and they have a name and description, and they are either movable or unmovable. Piacere, Zeppe. You're very welcome. Okay, so control room items. So now I'm making an item. So we've got a guard. Okay, and I say the guard is an item. Maybe I shouldn't call it an item, but that's okay. I'm going to call it guard. And the guard looks mean and menacing. Okay, and the guard is not movable. We cannot pick up the guard. Okay, and there is also an electronic lock. And it is an item. And we'll call it We'll call it lock because it can't have, because we can't have a space right now because we haven't kind of programmed that right yet. So we'll just call that a lock. And the lock is in front of a large door to the east. Okay. And it is also not movable. Okay. So we've got control room items, and now I'm going to make the control room. So I'll call this closet. And again, this I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, but this is a way that is hopefully understandable. So control room. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say control room equals room, and it is the control room. And the description is you are in a small room. Looks like, yeah, that looks like it controls something. And again, I can make this more complicated, but for now, this is kind of our purpose. And yeah, that's all we're going to do for the room. Name and description, right? And now what we can do, say create the player. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add items to the control room. So I'm going to say control room dot items dot append, and we've got the guard, and control room dot items dot append. I'm going to add the electronic lock. Okay, and yeah, so now in that room we have those items. Now here's the challenge that we haven't done yet, is moving. Okay, so moving from one room to another room. Okay, so now what I have to do is I have to add an exit to the closet that leads to the control room. Okay, so I'm going to do, where's that going to be at? So control room. So now since the control room hasn't been created when I created the closet, okay, so the order that you create things is important. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to do it in sections, like create items, okay, and then I'm going to go create rooms. And there's probably an easier way to do this, but right now I can't think of it. So create exits. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say closet.exits, and I'm going to use capital N for north, and that leads to the control room. Okay. And that is completely wrong. Sorry. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. And then I'm going to say control room, room.exits, south equals closet. Okay, so you can kind of see here what's going on. Actually, I'm going to put a little space here. So you can see now I've created an exit to the north for the control room and an exit to the south for the closet. Okay, so now when we go into our room, we have, here are the exits. Let's test this. Okay, so you can say, welcome to my space adventure. You wake up on a space station. The closet. You're in a small nondescript closet. I should put a space period there. Here are the exits. N. Okay, so now we have to figure out how to move. Okay, so, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting. Now to keep it simple, let's see here. Let's keep it simple. So usually in these types of games, what we do is, oh yeah, I messed that one up. But all right, let's do it this way. So actually, I'm going to make the exit a small n. Okay, and yeah, I'll leave it like that for now. So basically, we're just going to make sure everything is lowercase. We can get around that another time. So now, what we can do here is, so basically we're basing everything off of verbs. Okay, so now let's do go. So movement. Okay, so if verb in, and as I mentioned, okay, here are the ways we can move. North, south, east, west, up, down. Okay. So if it is one of those words, okay, and if verb in, I know it's technically not a verb, we could use go north, but we'll just keep it simple. If verb in player.location.exits, okay, then player.location equals player.location.exits verb. Okay, so let me go through that real quick. And I can say print you go and find yourself in a new room. Let's leave it like that for now. And I put dot format and you go verb. Yeah, I know it's confusing because I keep using verb, but we'll just use north, south, east, and west as verbs. Okay, so hopefully this will work. And yeah, let's do that. Okay, so let's try that. Okay, so I'm going to hear N. You go north and find yourself in a new room, the control room. You are in a small room that looks like it controls something. Here are the exits. Okay, so the control room, that's wrong. It should be south, so let's fix that real quick. Control room, where did I mess that up? Yeah, control room exit, it is south. This is the problem. These are the problems you have when you do live code and you haven't planned everything out ahead of time. So let's test it and run it. So north, I'm in the control room. South, I am in the closet. North doesn't let me go anywhere. Okay, so it just kind of not errors out, but just kind of rolls around again. And where is the description? Oh, right. Am I quiet? Okay, I can turn it up a little bit. But last time people told me it was a little too loud. They could hear like the crickets and stuff in the background. So let me turn this up for you. How's that? Is that better? So, because I have the window open, it's a little bit warm here. Yeah. But thanks for letting me know. Appreciate that. Okay, let me grab a drink. Alrighty, so let us continue on. Where were we? So now we can change rooms. Okay. Now this is kind of where it gets a little bit interesting to me. So now there's different ways to do this, a bit more object-oriented style, but I'm trying to... Oh, you're welcome, Riot. Thanks for letting me know. So when we think about this, so these are kind of the basic commands. And now room-specific code. Now I could put this in the classes and do child classes and all this kind of stuff, but let's keep it simple. Okay, so for example, let's say I come out of the closet and the guard looks at me and the guard is not happy. Okay, so let's say, for example, so if player, okay, so room specific code, so I'm going to call this control room. Player.location equals control room. Okay, and say if the player dot inventory, if uniform not in player inventory. So if I try to go north without getting the uniform, print the guard sees you without saying a word. He pulls his I don't know, laser gun and kills you. Game over. Okay, and then I say exit, and that exits the game. Okay. Else, so if I do have the uniform, print the guard looks at the uniform form and turns his head back to the display. Okay, so this is a way that we can kind of control, you know, what happens when you enter a room or you do something. So this is room specific code. This code only applies to that particular room. Okay, so you see the commands that we've done so far, these work anywhere. So you can examine any item that is in that location. Okay. You can get any item that is in that location if it's movable. You can drop any item that you have, and you can check your inventory. You can move if there's an exit. And now this is for only this room. These will work in any room. This only works in this case in the control room. Okay, so let's see here. Something I messed up. Well, it's kind of working. Oh, one thing I examine is what I should do with this is two things. If it's in the room, I should be able to examine it, or if it's in the player inventory. So if it's in the room or if it's in the inventory. Okay. So let's try this out, see what happens. Error. God, I do it all the time. 2 equal signs. 126. It's like I've been coding, you know, off and on for like 30 years. And Python like hardcore for like the last 5. And I still do that all the time. Okay, let's try it again here. Okay, so here are the exits. I'm going to go north, and I got an error. String object is not callable. But you go north and find yourself in a new room. The guard sees you, and without saying where, he pulls his laser gun and kills you. Game over. String object is not callable. Line 129. 129. Exit. Maybe exit is not a command in Python too. That's a weird one. String object is not callable. Why is that? Anyway, I'm not going to lose a lot of sleep on that one. But I'm almost certain that will work in Python 3. Exit? Quit? Anyway, we'll leave it at that one. Print, make sure I didn't do anything. Okay, so let's try it again. F5. I'll say get uniform. Okay, and now I'm going to go north. Guard looks up, looks at the uniform, and turns his head back to the display. Okay, so that was kind of the way that you can kind of control entering and exiting a room. Okay, so another thing we can do is room-specific code. Okay, so if you see here, we've got an electronic lock. So I put a little dashed line, and what that tells you is that this room, you can't do anything in that room. You can't go this way because there's a door. Okay. So what I should do is I should put in this room. Where's it at here? Uniforms, blue and drab, guard, closet, control room. You're in a small room that looks like it controls something. There is an airlock to the east. Okay. But when we run it, you can't go east because it's not an exit yet. We haven't made that exit. So what we can do, again, is room-specific code. So if player dot location equals control room, okay, and if verb equals, say, open, and noun equals airlock. Okay. Now I could have made the airlock an item, but we'll just leave it like this. Okay, so we got two things. If ID in player.inventory. So if you have the ID, say print, you swipe the ID and the airlock opens. Okay, so now I've got an exit to the east. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say control room dot exits e. Oh, sorry, I do that all the time. Equals airlock. Okay. And I can say else print the airlock won't open. You must need keyed access. Something like that. Okay. All right. You must need some ID to enter to open it. Okay, so let's try that and see what happens. Hi, Gaffus. Okay, so I'm going to get the uniform so I don't get killed by the guard. I'm going to go north. Okay. Now there's no exit to the east, but I see the following. Lock. I forgot to make the ID. Oops. Okay, so the ID is on the movable items list, which I haven't done yet. Where's the items at? That's way up here. So you see how it's getting kind of big now. And it's just like 2 rooms so far. So closet items, control room items. Okay. So I say ID equals item ID. The ID is silver with a barcode on it. And this is movable. I can pick it up and use it. Okay, so let's try that again. So get uniform. Okay, we go north. And you see the following. I forgot to put it in the room. So it's easy to forget these things. So closet, control room dot items dot append ID. Let's try it one more time. And here we go. Get uniform. Okay, I'm gonna go north. There's the ID. So get well, actually, I can't go east, right? Nothing's there. So you can see the exits are here. So I'm going to type get ID. Okay, and here are the exits. So I'm going to say open airlock. And I got an error. Okay, so you swipe the ID and the airlock opens, and of course I got an error because I never made the airlock room. So that room has not been created. So I'll just create that real quick, and then we'll probably have to call it a night. Control room, airlock. So copy that, change it around. Airlock dot room equals room, the airlock. Small to the west. You're in a small room that is clearly an airlock. There is a window to space in the east. Okay. And then the airlock room dot exits. So that's a west exit equals, that goes back to the control room. Alright, and there's a spacesuit. Actually, I do want to kind of get this part done, just kind of check it out. Kind of interested in this one. And I'm going to say airlock items. And what we got here? We got a spacesuit. And I'll call it, just use one word, equals item space suit. The space suit looks old, but safe. Again, you can be as descriptive as you want, and this is definitely gettable, so it is movable. And I also I'm gonna make also a button. Okay, I'm gonna say equals item dot button, and the big red button as a warning symbol. And it is not movable. Okay, so you can just kind of see how you can kind of create your own world here. Once you've established the basic parameters and these basic commands, and again, we could have put these into a class as well. You can do quite a lot with it actually. So I've got a spacesuit and a button. All right, so let's see here. Let's try this one more time. Oops, I saved it. Let's run it. Actually, no, I gotta do one thing before I do that. I need to airlock exits, and I need to do, oops, create the exits later. X. It's got a west exit, and if we do airlock, so airlock, why did I put room? That was weird. I'm gonna do that. So airlock dot items dot append. I'm going to append the we got the spacesuit, and we've got the airlock dot items dot append, and I just called it button because I was getting lazy and getting tired. Yeah, so we got these things in the airlock. So let's make sure they're there. Crikey. 964. Airlock. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so get uniform, go north. There's no way I can go east, so I get the ID. I say open airlock. Now I can go east, and there's an exit to the west, and there's a space window to the space on the east. So I would have like another room over here, which would be outside the airlock. Okay. So now what I can do is, again, this is room specific code. So if player dot location equals airlock, Now what we can do is we can just basically lock the airlock as soon as we get in there. So this is going to be a little bit unrealistic, I guess. But so if the player is in the airlock, and let's see if the verb equals open, and the noun equals, let's see, airlock. Okay, so he's going to open the airlock. So let's say as soon as we go into the room, let's do this real quick. So airlock. Okay. So if player.location equals airlock, if airlock dot, watch this, exits, see, west, if the west exit still equals, okay, exits, okay, how about this? If west in airlock dot exits, so if you can still go west, that means it's the first time you've entered the room. There's other ways to do this, but this is just one way to think about it. Then we say, how do we do that? Remove an item from a dictionary in Python. I'll have to Google that because I forget. Remove item from Python dictionary. Ah, yeah. So, got it. Okay. And airlock exits. Then we do delete airlock dot exits W. Okay. And you say print the airlock door closes. Alrighty. And instead of open airlock, we're going to say press button. And you are trapped. There is no, lock on this side. Okay, so as soon as you go in that room, you are basically stuck. Now you can't get in that room unless you get the uniform, and so basically the game's over. At that point, you're stuck forever. Now we could do like a countdown type thing, and basically have some, have the airlock open. So then if we press the button, okay, so now in this case, if spacesuit in inventory, player.inventory. Now I'm simplifying things. Inventory, print, you put on the spacesuit and push the red button. Print the outer airlock door opens. Okay. Else, print the outer airlock door opens. You are sucked into the vacuum of space and die. Yeah, it's a very cheery story. So let's test it. And now I haven't created the space location out here, but you would make a space location, like space outside airlock or something like that. Okay, and then you'd have to put the exit in just like we did over here. Okay, so let's run that and hope that's going to work. Invalid syntax, naturally. 159. I forgot this. Okay, and let's F5 that sucker. Okay, so let's get the uniform. Okay, now I'm in the closet. I can go north. Okay, I'm gonna examine the guard. See what happens there. Okay, the guard looks up. The guard looks mean and menacing. The guard looks up, looks at the uniform, and turns his head back to the display. So in a small room that looks like it controls something, there is an airlock to the east. So I'm gonna go to the east. I can't go to the east. The door's locked. So I'm going to get I'm going to open airlock. The airlock won't open. You must need some ID to open it. So I'm going to get the ID. So inventory. I've got the uniform and ID. So I'm now I'm going to open the airlock. Okay, now I can go east. Now I'm in the airlock to the west. And you go east and find yourself in a new room. The airlock door closes. You are trapped. There is no lock on this side. So you're in a small room that is clearly an airlock. There's a window to space in the east. There's an airlock door to the west. Okay, so if I push the button, let's see what happened here. What did I say here? Press button. Press button. That didn't work. Something went wrong. Alright, let's fix that one. I love coding, believe it or not. So the airlock won't open. And exit. Try it again here. Get uniform, go north, get ID, go east. Say open airlock, go east. You're trapped, so I can't go west. So press button. Oh, why is that not working? That's really annoying. Let's test it. Print in airlock. So basically, I'm just kind of debugging here. Okay, I'm gonna say print, press button, so I know which part of the program I'm in. Oh, duh. I have now in quotes. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna need that anymore. Okay, F5. Let's do it one more time. So get uniform. Go north. I'm gonna get the ID. Open the airlock. I'm gonna go east. Now I'm trapped. I'm gonna press the button, and the program ends. You're in a small room that is clearly an airlock. An outer airlock opens. You're sucked into the vacuum of space and die. Game over. Again, I don't know why exit's giving us that error, but okay. So let's try this again. I'm going to get the uniform. I'm going to go north. I'm going to get the ID. I'm going to open the airlock. I'm going to go east. And I'm going to get the spacesuit. Now, we could have programmed it where you have to get the spacesuit and then you have to wear the spacesuit, which makes it a little bit more realistic. But I'm getting a little lazy here because I'm getting a little tired. So now if I press the button, you put on the spacesuit and push the red button, the outer airlock door opens. And then I would have had to make an exit to the east, and then I would have to build another room out here. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of how to create your own text adventure. This is always a popular question on my channel. This is a popular question, everywhere I code. People say, "Oh, how do I make a text adventure?" Well, here you go. And as I said, one of my students wants to do this, so I'm going to show this to her tomorrow and let her try to walk through this. And so I wish her luck when she watches this. Any questions about this? Okay, I don't see any questions. So I assume it either made a lot of sense to people, or people were just like, "Oh my god, what the heck was that?" And but you know, the nice thing about it is this video is recorded. I'm going to edit out that first hour, like when we were counting down, and then you can just kind of go back and watch it as you like. I will take this code and I will save it somewhere, and I'll put a link in the description so you can download that. Okay, and just kind of play around with it, and you know, see what you can do. If you can add a room, it would be kind of cool. See what you can add to the game, and to make it a little bit more interesting than what I did here. And again, as I mentioned, there are better ways probably to organize this, but hopefully this is like a reasonably something you can reasonably follow for somebody who's a relative beginner, and that's always kind of my target audience. So yeah, so thanks for stopping by, everybody. I appreciate it, and I will see you next time. Take care.